Plastics, they are everywhere in our daily lives, from your sweater to your sneakers to your toothbrush. In 2018, the world produced 359 million metric tons of plastic, 50% of it designed for single use. So because it's Earth Day, I wanted to talk about plastics, recycling, and how the pandemic is only making it worse. So the first synthetic polymer was created in 1869. Billiards had become very popular in the United States, and the supply of natural ivory from elephant tusks used to make the balls was in short supply. John Wesley Hyatt, inspired by a reward to create a substitute, created a substance from cellulose and camphor. The first fully synthetic plastic was invented in 1907 by Leo Baekeland, looking for a good electric insulator. But it was during World War II that plastic production started taking off. World War II necessitated a great expansion of the plastics industry in the United States, as industrial might proved as important to victory as military success. The need to preserve scarce natural resources made the production of synthetic alternatives a priority. After the war, plastics found its way into lots of products. In product after product, market after market, plastics challenged traditional materials and won, taking the place of steel in cars, paper and glass in packaging, and wood in furniture. But by the 1960s, people were starting to notice the plastic trash piling up everywhere. Concern about plastic waste only grew over the next 2 decades, and by the end of the 80s, state and local officials across the country were considering banning some kinds of plastic in an effort to reduce waste and pollution. Worried about the loss of sales, it was the plastic industry themselves that led efforts to start recycling programs around the United States. Problem solved. Or was it? In a recent Frontline documentary, insiders from plastics lobbying groups admitted there was never an enthusiastic belief that recycling was ultimately going to work in a significant way. Now, plastics are made from oil. In an episode I made recently, I learned that out of a barrel of oil, up to 13% of it is used to make things like plastics. So depending on the price of oil, recycling plastic may not be economically viable. So instead of focusing on recycling plants in the United States, plastic waste was shipped to China in the now empty shipping containers returning after dropping off goods. China was taking 56% of the world's plastic garbage to recycle, along with a significant portion of its paper refuse. 60% from the US and more than 70% from Europe. Some of that plastic was recycled, but most of it was put into landfill or incinerated. By 2017, China had had enough. And at a meeting of the World Trade Organization, they announced that they would be reducing their imports of waste. They were creating enough of their own waste and cited environmental reasons, aiming to protect their citizens. The garbage trade between China and the United States dropped by as much as 38%, a loss of $3.5 billion. But not to fear, there were poorer countries around the globe that were willing to take our trash. So it began going to countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and India, countries with fewer import regulations and less stringent controls, or none at all. A report by the World Bank Group shows waste disposal relates to income level, with poorer countries only recycling around 4% of waste and open dumping the rest, and that regions where plastics mostly go today, South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, combine to only recycle 11% of their trash. So while local governments are paying to collect the plastics you put in your bin, the United States and Europe is shipping it to poor countries around the world. Only about 9% of plastics ever made have been recycled. Unfortunately, 2 new developments are making it worse: cheap oil and COVID-19. Now remember, plastic is made from oil, and with the price so low, recycling plastic is even less economical. And worse yet, the plastic industry is making the argument that because the coronavirus can live on plastic for days, single-use plastic bags are essential. In a letter to the U.S. Department of Health, the Plastics Industry Association argued, "Study after study after study have shown that reusable bags can carry viruses and bacteria, spread them throughout the grocery store, and live on surfaces for up to 3 days." The plastics industry has been working to educate the general public and elected officials that single-use plastic products are the most sanitary choice when it comes to many applications, especially the consumption and transport of food. I would guess that the use of to-go containers and plastic bags from restaurants has also increased during the pandemic. On this Earth Day, I ask you to take a look at just how many products are made with plastics, and how many of those products you throw away, maybe after minutes or even seconds of use. And if you felt better by carefully separating your plastics into the correct bin, just take a look at where that plastic really went, and realize that you were tricked by big business into thinking that it made that much of a difference. If you enjoy this content, please click the like button and share, and consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you.